Alright class, so in today's screencast I would like to talk about 3 other tools that I would like you to be aware of that kind of work along with color and shapes. So you have your, today we're going to work with the shape tool, the blending tool, the gradient tool, I'm sorry, and the blending tool, which is here. Alright, so the first tool I'm going to show you is gradient. I'm going to just close this as if it's not open. So I'm going to open up a shape. I'm going to make shape. And for now I'm just going to fill it with a color. Alright, so how do I use my gradient tool? So I select my gradient tool, and then what I just did was click on my shape, and you can see that the gradient automatically appeared, and it has this bar that runs across it. You can see, just like in Photoshop, when you do gradient, it has color options. You can change your color on the left side here, and you can also change it on the right side. It also has a little point in the center where you can adjust the gradient from side to side. The other cool thing is that if you kind of pull your tool off to the side a little bit, it'll create like a little rotation marker, and that will allow you to rotate the gradient if you did not want it to be horizontal, if you wanted it to be diagonal. You can also move this bar back and forth, depending like where you would want that gradient to be. If you wanted to adjust further, you can go to your gradient tool on your bar to the right, or you can open up your gradient in Windows. Okay. And right now, my colors are black and white, and it's a linear gradient. I mean, you can make it radial, so you can change the type of gradient. Now, if I wanted to change the color of my gradient, what you're going to do is click on the little boxes, color swatches, just like you would in in Photoshop, right? And right now it's still black and white. I'm working in black and white. If I were to change it to my color swatches, I have a whole variety of colors I can choose from besides black and white. Or if I really wanted more of a selection, now that I'm working in color, changed it to color, I can pull from the colors below, all right, in this spectrum of color below. So that could be one color. I could change the other color. Whoops. Okay. I'll make it orange. Okay. And I can also add colors by clicking on the more colors if I didn't want it to just be 2, right below the bar here, and then add to my selection, right, if I wanted to add something between. And then you have your little tabs here that you can pull to adjust color if you wanted something to be more of one and less of the other. Okay, seems a little extreme what I have going on here, but you gotta get the idea. So that would be using your gradient tool. Alright, so I'm going to put that right up here. The next tool would be your blending tool. Alright, so your blending tool works this way. You can create two shapes and blend them together to create a gradient. So I'm going to create one shape. I'm going to actually take this gradient off of it. I'm just going to make it red. Right? And I'm going to create another shape next to it, and I'm going to change that one to yellow. Okay. Now, if I were to use my move tool and just run over both of the shapes together and select them both, using my blend tool, I can click on both of them, and it will click on one and then the other, and it will bring that blend straight through each color. And that's another way that you can blend colors. The really cool thing about the blend tool is that I can actually, just like when you create a path, you could change the points on it. I can still change the points on my shapes, but I can also change the direction of my shape. So it has this like little axis running through it. So I can move this shape, and it's moving together as a whole now, right? So you can really create cool three-dimensional effects if you wanted to, using the blend tool. So those are two extra shape related tools and color tools that I wanted to show you. The next tool is the Imagetrace. So just like in Photoshop, you can place effects on objects. Really quickly, yesterday I was going over drop shadow and effects, Illustrator effects, and it was kind of confusing because my computer wasn't working, but just so you're clear, if you wanted to like add a drop shadow or warp something like your text, you want to look through these Illustrator effects. So if I wanted to, like just like in Photoshop with layer style, create a drop shadow, outer glow, round quarter, scribble, whatever, you can find that under effects. It's just set up differently. So you'd have to move your excuse me, your opacity here, and then X offset would move the direction off of one side and Y off of the other. You can blur it so to make it softer. So it's just a little bit different approach, but very similar. So just make sure that you are aware of that. You might want to put like a drop shadow on your text or an object. But getting back to picture, so in Illustrator, you can actually create effects just like you can in Photoshop. Maybe if you wanted to make a picture look like colored pencil, right? Same idea, right? In fact, I think it's set up exactly the same. Okay, Imagetrace is a little bit different. Imagetrace will take a photograph, this is my son, and it will make it into a vector image. So what you want to do is select a picture, bring it in, go to Window, and you're going to highlight Imagetrace. All right, and then what you can do is play around with presets. So there's high and low clarity of the picture. You can have the picture be just 3 colors, 6 colors, 16 colors, shades of gray. So there's all of these options. So let me just show you high fidelity, right? So this would be like creating a vector image, but so now it's a vector, but it's pretty clear, kind of looks like the photograph. You can kind of see lines running through it, where if I were going to make it into 3 colors, okay, you can see that obviously it translates colors a little bit different or places them, merges colors together. Or if I were to do 6, 16, right? So now it's like bringing more colors in, but this is now a vector image, so you can kind of play around with this. Let me see, low fidelity. Okay, so that'll be low fidelity. Maybe I would keep it like this, and now it's a vector image that I can place into anything that I need. So if you wanted to trace over one image in your Google Doodle, I will let you trace over one image using this approach, okay? But just one. Everything else has to be completely original. The really cool thing about Imagetrace too is, like, let's say I didn't want to use this entire image. I wanted to only use the picture of my son, okay? What you would do is hit expand. So up here you have some other options. You're going to hit expand, and what that's going to do is it's going to break apart every single color in the image into separate pieces. So using your direct selection tool, I can actually pick up a piece and move it. All right, because each of these different colors are separate pieces. Okay, which means that I can go in and, using my direct selection tool, select aspects of the picture and hit delete or backspace, and it will delete that part of the picture. Okay, so this would be a good approach to, let's say, if you wanted to image trace just a part of a picture. I mean, obviously it's going to get a little bit hard in here. I might hold the shift key down and just keep selecting, almost like you would the wand tool in Photoshop, and really go in and delete some of these pictures that are objects that are next to my son. Okay, so it might take a while, But that's how I create that vector, take that photograph and make it into a vector, and then play around with it further. You can also change the color, so I could actually like select an aspect of it, like let's say his cheek. Okay, I'm trying to get that piece, and change the color of it. So there are a lot of fun things that you can do with it. And that's it for my screencast today. And